Hey guys, Plasticon here. I wanted to talk to you guys about a pretty serious subject. Um, the subject is dealing with depression and collecting and getting older and what we do to kind of cope with this situation. Um, If you guys follow me for a very, very long time, you guys know that I went to college for film. Um, I wanted to help create stuff like Blade Runner and Star Wars, and I mean, even getting into some stop motion and stuff like that. And it's a very, very difficult field to get into full time. Um, it's kind of a hit and miss type of thing, especially in this day and age when everybody pretty much has anything they need at their fingertips. I mean, we have phones now that do a lot of stuff that we used to have an entire room full of equipment to create and do things with. And things have changed a lot because of, the size of technology getting smaller. And while I was growing up, a lot of this was kind of fantasy. Um, some of the stuff didn't even exist. Computers were just coming into the limelight, and technology was just booming. Um, Nowadays, it's kind of hit stalemate. It's, you got people that are used to be your idols and stuff like that, finding out that they did some really heinous stuff in the world, and collecting toys and stuff like that becomes harder now because, you can't find that toy you used to be able to find just in a store anywhere. Plus, you're paying astronomical prices for things, and the music you used to listen to isn't as doesn't quite hit the way it used to. Same thing with watching movies or TV shows, even playing video games. I myself have been a big fan of World of Warcraft. I've played that game ever since it was released, and like I'm talking 2000, like tail end 2003, beginning 2004 beta test stuff. The community within it is kind of gone. And it's kind of been that way almost with like the collection community has been kind of waning here and there as well. And I think also some of it's because some of us are just getting older, some are getting out of it because, they're finding out that their kids aren't as interested in it, or the younger demographic doesn't really care as much. And when it comes to trying to keep that fire going, I know it's very difficult. I myself even struggle with it. I've gone through many, many, many phases of my collecting and many, many phases of my own depression and other stuff dealing with like medical problems and PTSD and things that happened to me when I was in service, stuff that happened to me when I was a child, stuff that happened to me in jobs, and just you name it, pretty much. Just coping with life in general is very difficult to do, especially even in this day and age, and how things are not as fun as it used to be, it seems. I myself have been. I started this YouTube well over 10 years ago, and it does okay. I do get a lot of views, but I really would like to see it grow more. Um, Depression's like a big thing I deal with on a daily basis. A lot of people probably don't realize that, but I do. Um, because I myself don't have all the funds in the world like some people out there. Some of us have had to work 9 to 5 jobs, or not even 9 to 5 jobs, working overnight jobs, working until we've pretty much beaten, broken our body. I'm at that point right now where my back gives me so many issues. My PTSD gets to me. I sometimes ramble a lot, And sometimes things come out of my mouth that I shouldn't say, and it's not correct. And later on, I stumble back on myself about it. And just things just don't go the way we all really planned them to go. Um, as of lately, I personally just thought, I would do a video talking about just depression and PTSD and dealing with real life issues. I myself have been not one of the kids on the block that had every toy in the world growing up. I was never one of those kids on the block that was popular. It's one of those kids that knew everything. I was always learning, and that's one thing I have to say about myself. At least I have tried to continue to learn. You know, um, Learning to me is probably one of the best things to do to cope with everything that's going on this planet. Um, I myself, back during the pandemic, I had a huge PTSD meltdown, and I don't think I've ever shaken it off since then. I find a lot of times that I'll be doing something and my hands will just start trembling for no reason. I used to be okay with doing stuff. I had slight shakes, but not on this level. Um, Having my back injuries like I have throughout the years just doesn't help. Um, Being fatigued, tired. I don't have a whole lot of energy some days, so I try to go out for a daily walk. I kind of walk down the hill and walk back. That's kind of what I do. It's nothing fantastic, nothing crazy. I try to get out and have some air. Um, I try not to push myself too hard because I've hurt myself too much in my life, and I really do push myself to its extremes quite a bit. And it's to the point sometimes that it's detrimental to my own health. Um, and it's mainly because of the way I was brought up. I was brought up, you work hard your entire life, and you're probably going to work till the day you die. That's all there is to it. And when I started learning about how people live in different countries, the United States is so bad about this. We are so bad about gotta have the new shiny, gotta have all that money, gotta have this, gotta have that. And I myself, even growing up, never really felt that way. I felt like, why? It's cool, believe me, it's cool to have toys. Like, having something to play with is awesome. But there were a lot of times in my life I didn't have this to play with. There were lots of times in my life that I didn't have access to doing something that helped me enjoy my life. And I look back at those times and notice how horrible I felt. And it's hard. It really is. As time has progressed, as I've gotten older, things are harder for me to do. I have projects that I have worked on and projects that I am still currently working on that sometimes I don't even see an end in sight. Um, and then when I am done with certain projects, sometimes I don't know what to do with that said project after I'm done with it. Like, what do I do with this custom toy I make? Or what do I do with the video footage I put out? And I mean, I sit on it and I put it out there, and then sometimes I get a few views, sometimes I don't. There's times that, yeah, I may feel like I'm wasting my time, but then there's times I'm like, no, over time it'll grow, and that's usually what happens. But, you know, I follow guys like Adam Savage. He's been since he's been doing his YouTube, it's really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things that people actually do and struggle with. Um, Not everybody is walking around with a smile on their face. Not everybody's walking around, with thousands of dollars falling out of their pockets. I mean, these guys you're seeing, they're streaming and stuff like that. I guarantee you they're not making half the money they're saying they're making. They're just not. If they are making that kind of money, they should be donating it to a bigger cause, because to me, larger causes out there, like even like the hurricane that's currently going on right now in Florida, and the hurricanes that hit Georgia and, you know, North Carolina, that whole mess down there has left people without homes. And seeing how people treat each other is kind of disgusting. I mean, especially you would think even after the pandemic, people would be more grateful, but they're not. Um, there's times that I myself, I'll go into the store. I'll be like, oh, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go try to hunt down that Hot Wheels Transformer crossover thing they had going on with the Optimus and the Bumblebee, and now they're going to be doing Ultra Magnus. And I'm like, oh, these are cool, but I can't find them anywhere. Reason being is people buy 4 or 5 of them. They either sell them on the aftermarket, sometimes they get them for a friend, or sometimes they get them for their kid. I understand that. But there's times that these guys are just hoarding them. Oh, I want one mint package and one I can play with. Why not just get one and just be happy with it? I don't understand this. I just don't. I know mint box collectors, stuff like that, think this stuff's gonna be worth billions of dollars when they're like 80 years old. Let's be real about this. With the demographic of the way kids collect today and do things that they do, none of this stuff's really going to be worth much at all when we're 70, 80 years old. It's not going to be worth anything. And that's kind of why I've collect the things I collect now, because if it doesn't actually have any real meaning to me, I don't keep it. That's all there's to it. If there's no like real sentimental value behind it, any kind of, oh, it kind of brings me joy when I look at it, or a story behind the item, much like this thing. This is a toy I had put repro labels on a long time ago, and then I turned around and sent it off in a lot to a friend of mine because I was downsizing my collection. He sent it back to me. I didn't ask for this, and it came back. I'm always kind of people, I highly believe that if something belongs in your life, it will find a way back into your life. It just will. And that's just kind of how that is. But dealing with a daily struggle I deal with every day because I am on partial disability. It's hard to find a job around here because people are just, the job market, if you've actually looked at it, there's a lot of fake jobs out there. There's jobs out there that are saying they're hiring, and you go find out they're actually not even hiring. They just put a thing out there so the company looks good. It's not good for anybody. It isn't good for like even an old man like me that's having problems trying to find some type of side work he could do, pay a bill or two, and that's about it. Not any crazy, full, insane stuff. Some people are like, oh, well, cut your hair and cut your beard and blah, blah, blah. I've done that before. That doesn't matter. None of that really matters. Because what they want is somebody that's going to show up, do the job, and leave, and not even asking questions. Not even care if they're even there. Literally live a dull existence as if they are a robot in this world. And then you got all this artificial generated crap that's going on. Same thing with the just everything's kind of like that right now. I don't know how many younger folk actually get into a lot of these crazy things they have online and stuff like that. I know some people follow these insane people that do stuff on these videos and stuff like that, and they think they're getting paid billions of dollars. Some of these people that are doing this stuff that have like extremely expensive cars, they didn't do it off of getting rich off of whatever it was. I guarantee you it's family money they got somewhere. That or they invested somewhere and got lucky. Some people are just that way. I myself, I've struggled my entire life. I have never had this silver spoon, you know. Oh, you're gonna go big places, you know, and this, that, and the other. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. A lot of stuff I'm very proud of, and there's some stuff that I'm not as proud of. And those little tiny things like that sometimes creep up on you and make you feel bad. And I find myself sometimes, oh, well, I'd like to buy this. But I'm like, no, I got bills to pay. We all have that fear of missing out stuff. And I'm like, honestly, you're only missing out whenever you make yourself feel like you're missing out. If it means a lot to you, you'll actually do it when it's time for you to do it, is what I've found. Things in the world are just different. You have people that aren't going to like you out there, no matter what you do. You could be the nicest person in the world, and you're going to get run over. You can be the most nasty person in the world and get praised. It's ridiculous nowadays. There's a few other YouTube things I watch, and me and my other half watch, and we'll sit there and comment about things. It's just like, it's disgusting the way some of this world is just like, oh, well, this is more important than someone's life. And I'm like, these people that act this way, I've never been in these situations. Me being a serviceman and being, you know, in the service and stuff like that, I've seen some pretty nasty stuff. I've seen some stuff that gives me nightmares still to this day. And there are things out there in the world that I personally think are not good for anybody. And when it comes to collecting toys and just collecting anything in general, I don't care if it's toys, music, books, movies, just anything, art, collecting just clothing, shoes. I mean, everybody has some kind of collection. Some people do sports memorabilia. I don't care what kind of a nerd you are. That's the stuff that kind of helps bring it home for some of you guys. And when you guys think about this stuff, are you actually collecting because you're just trying to make money off of it later on? Or are you collecting to actually have it in your life? So every time you look at something, it reminds you of somebody or reminds you of something. Like, you guys probably see my little Atari cartridge I got back here that's hung up. Reminds me of my old Atari cartridge I used to have when I was a kid. I used to have Centipede. And I used to play Centipede a lot on the arcade. Yes, the 2600 version is not as good as the arcade. Nothing ever was back then. But that was the charm about it. That the charm was there. But it has nothing to do with what that is. It has to do with the times how you felt. I myself kept a pretty high score on that arcade machine for a very long time because I was really good at Centipede when I was a kid. As I gotten older, I'm not as great. I'm pretty bad at it actually now. But when it comes to certain things, are we just doing it just because somebody is telling us we're going to be missing out on something, or are we doing it because it generally means something to us? That's the biggest question I have to all you guys. When it comes to depression, how are you guys handling it? I myself, like I said, I struggle every day with depression. Every day I struggle with it. And I know there's times on my videos and stuff it doesn't seem that way, but yeah, I do. I really do. And with my nerves the way they are anymore, and I shake a lot, I don't know what causes it. I don't know if it's anxiety, I don't know if it's nerve damage, I don't know what it is. It's not like I said, when I was a lot younger, if you see somebody and you think they're not disabled, when they park in a disabled spot, well, you don't know how they're disabled. They could be walking around just fine, but they could have a messed up knee, and you might not even know it. They could have pins in their knee, you won't even know it. Some people might have a plate in their head because they, had their skull cracked open and they had to put a metal plate in their head, and they don't know that. Some people don't realize that, it's even an internal struggle, like internally dealing with something that causes them to be disabled. My other half, she's on disability, straight disability, because she cannot hold a job. She has problems trying to get out of bed some days. I myself struggle with that quite often myself. I think the reason I get out of bed is because my body hurts so bad I have to. There's some days I just don't care to get out of bed. But it's because depression is real. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. And I myself have been trying to push myself into doing a routine. Like I said, every day I get up, I have my coffee, go for my walk, come home, I have my breakfast, and then I start to either A, work on videos, or B, job applications, or whatever else I gotta do throughout the day. I gotta go to doctor's appointments, or bill paying, or grocery shop, whatever I have to do, because everybody has these struggles. Not everybody gets everything delivered to their door like they say they do. Especially people that have kids. I myself don't have kids. I'm glad I don't, because with all my issues I've got some pretty bad issues, and they're just not good issues, and it's not good for, me to be raising a child. It just isn't. Life is not fun sometimes. And I know this is a bit of a downer kind of video. It's not as upbeat as the rest of my videos usually are. But I wanted to put this one out there to see how you guys feel about this stuff. And leave comments down below, please. Leave comments down below, because I plan on doing a follow-up video about this. If you have any questions, please throw questions on there. The whole point of me having YouTube in the first place was for me to experiment and see what I could do video-wise, and see what people like and what people don't. And there's times I go back and look at a lot of my videos and I'm like, I put a lot of time and effort for something to get only like 200 views. Okay, that's cool. I made 200 people happy, I guess, or whatever it is. And as I've gotten older, I've started thinking about this, and I'm like, you know what? It really doesn't matter how many views a video gets, because if I put it out there and only 5 people watch it and 3 people get some actual context out of it and they're happy with what they get, then that's all that matters, right? These people that complain because they got a 1986, they got the 86 Optimus Prime that come out, and oh my gosh, the feet aren't right. Really? If that's your only worry in life, you've got bigger problems. Seriously. I understand buying something brand new in box, not wanting anything to be messed up. I get that, 100%. But we're crying about a piece of crack that's made of plastic. And most of the time people have been complaining because they're like, oh well, that Minosaur came out, the grays on there are starting to yellow. It's because it's inferior materials they're using nowadays, guys. This isn't the materials they were using 20, 30 years ago. This is materials they're making nowadays, which is cheaply made. Because the world is breaking down around us. Physically breaking down. Because the climate changes, affects a lot of things. Some places are getting warmer than others. Some places are getting colder than others. The planet itself is kind of falling apart a bit. Just weather-wise. I would just say, nature-wise. Especially with people down in the Amazon cutting down trees and not caring. Because these people are literally just people being shot at down there for trying to stop them from doing this. It's not good stuff. None of this is. And the thing is, everybody's like, oh, well, why don't they do this? Because they're not in America. Other countries run things differently. And a lot of guys that don't understand that, you guys really need to start watching some stuff that deals with the rest of the world. Start opening your eyes to the rest of the world and what they go through. Some people are like, oh, well, you live up in Canada, you get free healthcare. I got a friend of mine whose cousin right now that lives in Canada is going through a issue with cancer. Yeah, they have free healthcare, but guess what? It's not free to go back and forth. That costs money. This person can't work because they have cancer. So where's that money come from? It just doesn't miraculously appear out of nowhere. And that's the stuff that I think a lot of people are really not looking at. Because you guys are complaining because you can't find a toy in a store. You're mad because Hasbro messed up something that you really liked. You're not happy because there's a reissue of something that's come out that's going to cause the vintage market to tank. Give me a break. Let's look at the real big picture here, guys. Let's look at the toys from the 50s. The ones from the late 60s. The ones that were made of metal and tin. There's not many people collecting those. And if you look on the aftermarket is stupid low on them. Because no one wants them. And the problem with that is the fact that there's no nostalgia for it. There's nothing for it. There's no anything. Because the nostalgia died 30 years ago. That's going to happen to everything coming out of the 80s and 90s as well. Believe me, it's going to happen. You're already seeing bits and pieces from the toys from like the 70s. Barely anybody buys Evil Knievel. That's a toy from the 70s, guys. We do have some people out there that buy Shogun, but they're my age and older. You don't have kids that are in their 20s buying them. You have kids that are 15 years old buying them. 8-year-olds don't care about it. Because digital media is where it's going. And the one thing that really depresses me about digital media is the fact that everything is behind a paywall. And whoever's running that paywall says, oh, you can watch this, or no, you're going to get the inferior version. We're going to stream that. You can't see the other versions. They don't exist. Why? Because they're on a DVD, a VHS. Some are still on film strip that's never gotten seen ever. Unless you owned a projector. Some stuff is actually still stuck on VHS, guys. VHS. And DVD, CD stuff is kind of going to the wayside already. So what's that tell you? What's going to happen to these formats? Oh, it all goes digital. Okay, where do you archive it? internetarchive.org. Okay, cool. They're going through huge lawsuits right now because of copyright situations. So what's going to happen to all this in the future? How are you guys going to feel when your kids can't even watch Brave Star? Because there's no copies of it out there on any of the streaming services because it's too, I don't know, offensive to some culture because, oh, well, it deals with Native American people. Native American people are very, very heritable people, and they really love their heritage. And some people actually like that show just because of what it was. And some people, they talk about the Dukes of Hazzard and this, that, and the other. Guys, the only thing though about the Dukes of Hazzard, the General Lee was literally called the General Lee because they wanted something catchy to call that car. They threw a freaking Confederate flag on the top of it. Even if that car didn't have a Confederate flag or be called the General Lee, the show itself would still be good. If you take that off of the entire context, it's still a good show. And I think that's the problem with everything nowadays, is the fact that they try to find the littlest, tiniest thing they can to complain about and cause it to sound like it's the worst thing in the world, when it isn't. It hasn't caused anybody to die. It hasn't caused anybody to go out and murder anybody. Most people I know that collect Dukes of Hazzard stuff, they are just people that are from the South that enjoy it. There's people even up north that are like, I like that show. It's cool and it was funny. It's just like this is just one example, of the things that have changed in our culture. And that's the stuff that sometimes gets to me and causes me to be depressed. Mainly because I think a lot of the world is just changing in general. Like, I myself, like I said, I play World of Warcraft a lot. I still play it. And some people are like, oh, what do you play? Do you play hardcore? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into what it is that I play, because that is irrelevant. The fact is there's really no community. Even when I was playing Classic WoW, there's really not a community. Nobody really talks much. And no offense, guys, play Classic WoW. That is literally vanilla WoW with training wheels, because everybody has taught you how to do it. There's guides, there's books, all that. These people that say a game's hardcore, no, you know what's called hardcore? Hardcore is what the people did before the books even came out. Much like the guys that actually helped create Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of that stuff was done from fan-made stuff. And then D&D tried to come in and swoop in and say, oh, if you make anything that has anything to do with this property, you can't do it anymore. That's BS. Let me tell you why. Because everybody has some kind of imagination. And everybody wants imagination to go away. It's like, take this for instance, this. This is a toy that was made by Hasbro, has hubcap, but somebody in Repro Labels decided to make a sticker set to create something that did not exist. This is technically not even official at this point. So what's that tell you? Imagination. You take what you have and you create what you want to out of it. Because that is the world that we need. We don't need a world that's so cookie cutter that, pardon me, just, do we want to walk around and be drones the rest of our lives? Or do we want to break that mold and create a better world for everybody? All I see anymore is the same thing over and over again. Movie comes out, it's the same movie the other four were. Even if it's like a sequel or a prequel, it's almost like the same thing. Something you've read before, something you've seen before, something, and I know art steals from art. I get that. Believe me, I understand that 100%. I got a degree in cinematography. I went to art school. I know what this all entails. But the biggest problem with a lot of this is the fact that, okay, we're going to tweak it and make it our way. That's fine. Nothing wrong with doing that. But when is something perfect enough that you just leave it alone? When is it good enough that it's like, you know what, it's good enough from this generation on? I think that's why Generation 1 Transformers has such a resonant, like, it resonates so much with everybody, because it was the first one. But the funny thing is it actually isn't. All those toys that came out that are in the Generation 1 Transformer line didn't even have backstories hardly at all. They were in tiny little magazine books that came with the toys themselves. And that's it. And it was made by a company, Takara, and they called it Diaclone, which they came with their own like little thing. I myself did a short movie, if you go back in my archives and watch the movie I put together, because that's literally the narrative of it all, the entire line. And it's wrapped up in 30 minutes. And the thing is, it's a cool storyline. But that's not what Transformers is to everybody. Transformers is these robots that are autonomous, that can do their own thing, and they don't have anybody controlling them. sounds like the world we're in right now. Everybody wants control of it, but you can't control it. And that's the one thing about the human race, is we always kind of go above that and beyond it. I just want to challenge you guys to do the best you can in this world. Dealing with depression, it's hard. It's very hard, especially for me right now. I've been dealing with a lot of it lately. It's because I'm feeling old and washed up. Feeling like nothing really matters. What I do is what I do, I guess. But I have to keep trying and keep going, because I have people out there cheering for me and helping me out and actually care. You know, I have some family that cares. I've got friends that care. And you also have to build a inner self about you, to teach yourself to care. I'll tell you why. Because you're talking to somebody that's been an orphan since he was 22 years old. I lost my mom when I was 7. Lost my dad when I was 22. They're gone. Ain't nobody sitting there holding my hand. Has it been hard? Extremely hard. I'm in my late 40s now. It's very hard. I've made mistakes. I've stumbled, fallen, broken my back, broke my nose, lost teeth over it, you name it. But I still get up and dust myself off and still try. Even though it's not the easiest thing in the world for me to do. And the older I get, the harder it's getting. But I just really wanted to do this video and talk to you guys for real about depression, collecting, how the world impacts everything we're doing. And no one's immune to it. I don't care who you are, you're not immune to it. The biggest thing I've done is I have gone through my social media stuff. This is back during the pandemic, and I got rid of a lot of stuff. There was a lot of BS that I kept getting tossed at me out there. And my other half's like, yeah, you need to do that. You need to get rid of this stuff. It's driving you crazy. It's making you go nuts. Because it was causing my PTSD to really pain. And it still does. Even today it still does. I'm always paranoid. Like, what the heck's going to go on next? Because, yeah, you know, probably being in the military is part of it. Yeah, I get that. But a lot of the anxiety and stuff just stays. It doesn't go away. And self-esteem's a big thing too. You have to do stuff that makes you happy. If you're not doing things that are making you happy, you can't have everybody else happy around you. If somebody's upset, you can't do anything to help them if you're going to and help yourself. You just can't do it. It just doesn't work that way. I myself I see a therapist. I actually had to stop seeing a therapist because I don't have the money to go see one now. But that's something I was doing for a very long time, and it helped. And there's times that I have to rethink my life. Everybody's like, oh, we could do those therapy apps like Calm or whatever. No, that doesn't do it for me. Unless you're actually talking to somebody face to face, sometimes that's not it. Same thing with like job interview stuff, when they want you to call and have a phone interview. Why don't they want you to just come to the place and talk to them? Because, I mean, you're able to do that. Same thing if they want to do like a video interview instead of actually taking the time out of the day to talk to somebody. It's kind of insulting if you think about it. I remember years ago when I used to go put in a job application, I put in an application, 3 days later I'd be at their door, knock on the door, hey, I'm here, still looking for work. Um, you hired? That's pretty much how it went. And most of the time, I'd end up getting a job because no one else did. Everybody else sits back and watches the world go by, and they expect phone calls, they expect an email, they expect a text message, or however else they get their information. And I'm like, not everything is a digital thing, guys. Not everything's like that. You still have to walk out there and touch the grass. You still have to walk out there and look up at the sky and enjoy looking at the sun and taking in the smell of nature around you. You still have to say hi to your neighbors whether you want to or not. You still have to go to the grocery store and get that gallon of milk or that loaf of bread because it isn't going to last all year. You know, you still have to do things to survive in this world. And if you're really not doing much of that, you really probably should try to break out of it. I myself, like I said, I've been working on trying to do this, and it's a struggle for me. And this is me struggling right now even to tell you guys this, because this isn't an easy subject for me to cover. This is a very hard subject for me, considering I've been dealing with a whole lot of, just a whole lot of, like, I don't know, inner turmoil, I should say. Because inner turmoil is a huge thing, and I deal with it all the time. There's times I have regrets for certain things. There's times like, well, I could have done this differently, or if I would have invested here, I would have had this, and I can what if all day, but that isn't going to help the situation. I try my best to move forward and keep going, and play a game when I want to, because I don't care what anybody says. I'm actually having fun with retail Warcraft. I don't even have the expansion. I'm still playing. I don't care. It's just because it's fun to me. I create my own game within the game. If you're not doing something like that when you're playing your video games, you're probably doing it wrong. You don't have to be the top guy and what you guys play nowadays, like Fortnite or whatever it is. You don't have to be the top-notch person that does all this stuff. As long as you're having fun with the game, is all that matters. Same thing with the music you listen to. As long as you're having fun with it, it's all that matters. Same thing with the movies. Don't let people tell you what you should watch, what you should listen to, what you should eat, what you should drink, how you should dress. Like, when it comes to behavior, I mean, we all know how to behave in public, and we all don't. No, we know what's appropriate and what isn't. So if we don't, you learn what that culture has. Because that's one thing when I was overseas, you have to learn what the cultures are. No one's going to spoon feed that to you. You're going to have to learn it. And if you do something that offends somebody and you don't listen, over there, they don't care. They're probably going to end up taking your life even over something stupid. Just because the world thinks, things should be a certain way doesn't always mean it is that way. So, just keep that in mind whenever you're out there trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life and how you're going to handle your depression and how you're going to handle just life itself. I myself have, like I said, I've gone through a lot of things. I mean, you're talking to somebody who's gone to college, you're talking to somebody that's had so many different jobs. I've been in the service. I've had really, really high pressure jobs. I've been a news reporter as well in my life. I've done some stuff that most people have never done. And I'm proud of those jobs I have done. Don't get me wrong. I am 100% proud on those jobs I had accomplished. And the fact that I was able to do certain things out there. But there are certain things out there that I am just not the biggest fan of that is going on. And there's times I kick myself for certain things I've done in the past myself, because it's what I do. I hold myself accountable. Because if you're holding yourself accountable, you're probably not going to do it again. Or you're going to try your darndest to not. Because that's just how it is. And I hope this little video helps you guys. Like I said, put some comments down below. Let me know how you feel about things. Sometimes screaming and hollering to the heavens doesn't help, but maybe reaching out to somebody that understands how you feel does. Because that's how I've always been. I've always looked at everybody the same. I don't care where you're from, what you do, who you do, how you go about it. I don't judge any of it because it's not my place to do that. My place is to help where I can. Because that's what we're supposed to do as human beings, is help each other, not rip each other down. That's all there is to it. So, this has been Plasticon. This has been a kind of a downer video, but you know what, I wanted to tell you guys about this, so it is what it is. This is me signing off. Peace out, y'all. I'll see you around. That's it for now. Bye.